Well, the leaves are falling off the trees and autumn has fully arrived. Now, you join me now on my syndicate, which is the Guys Syndicate, which is linked to Linear Fisheries, and I'm on Unity Lake. Now, I turned up yesterday in the afternoon with the preset of doing 3 nights. I knew Gaz was coming down this morning to hopefully film an autumn piece, but to also talk about little changes I make to my kit during the autumn months. As it starts to get a bit colder, I'll start changing a few things. But what's happened so far in the session is I've turned up and I've landed in a swim called the Dance Floor. Now, it's a very popular swim on this lake and it's normally always taken because it traditionally can do a lot of fish. Turning up to the lake, it was very busy, and to find this empty, I was really surprised. So I jumped at the chance of being able to drop in here. It's only my 3rd session on the venue, and it's one of the swims I'd have liked to have got in. Now, when I arrived, stood and watched the water for a little bit, and I noticed, I know there's a spot in this at about 20 to 25 wraps. There's an area that everyone tends to fish, which is called the Dance Floor. It's a nice clean area with some gravel. So I stood and watched, and while I was watching, I noticed that there was a lot of coots over the spot and they were diving and picking up bait, which says to me that the angler before had definitely put a little bit of bait in. So I started off the session quite gently. I just put out 6 bombs of fresh bait and I put 3 baited rigs over the top. My mix was very simple: a little bit of worm, a little bit of corn and a little bit of 8mm boilie. I feel at this time of the year, you know, the fish have been feeding really hard leading up to this time. We've got shorter days, colder days, the water temperatures drop in. We're probably around 10-12 degrees now. You know, in the summer months you're looking at 19-20 degrees. So the fish are starting to feed up, ready for the winter. I just feel at the autumn that it's a carp angler's dream. It's when everybody knows that the fish are at their biggest weights. But for me, I've always found the autumn to be a really tricky time. You know, the carp have been pressured really hard all year round, and then on top of that, it gets to this point in the year and everybody wants to catch them at their biggest weight. So once again, they have huge amounts of pressure. So what I've done this morning anyway is I haven't had a bite through the night, so I've topped up with a little bit more bait. I've put 1 kilo of fresh bait out and I've retied 3 new rigs, 2 with PB wafters on, which have been soaked so they've got a little bit more attraction there, and kept 1 on the plastic corn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dispatch these 3 rods out to the spot, and then I'm going to sit down and talk through the changes I make to my kit for the autumn months so I stay nice and comfortable. So I've got the rods back out on the spot and the bait's been topped up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delve a little bit deeper into the changes I make to my actual kit to keep myself nice and comfortable when it comes to these autumnal months. Now, one thing I tend to add to my bivvy is I always put a ground sheet down, I always put the full infill on, and I put a skull cap. The reason I do this is because at this time of year there is loads of moisture in the air. You've got ever-changing conditions, so we've got sunshine at the moment, it's cloudy, there's a heavy easterly wind, but I do know that there's a lot of rain coming tonight, tomorrow, with the chance of thunderstorms. So what I'm doing is by putting the skull cap on, I'm creating a warm layer between the skull cap and the actual bivvy. That reduces condensation. The ground sheet going down stops the moisture coming up through the ground, which again can cause condensation. And I put the full infill on because with the wind being quite strong and it's actually in my face at the minute, if it starts to rain, the rain can blow into my bivvy, which means wet gear and uncomfortable times. Now, last night the temperature did drop quite quickly. I got into my bed and I risked it by leaving the 3-season bag on, thinking I should be all right, but through the night I got a little bit chilly. So what I've done, I've popped back to the bag. Oh, little beat there. Anyway, what I've done is I've popped back to the van and I've got the extra layer for my oval bed system. Now, this is an extra layer that I can zip inside the sleeping bag to turn it from a 3-season to a 5-season. So I'm going to bang that in my bed because that way I know tonight I'm going to be nice and toasty. So I've lifted my V2 oval sleep system out of the Tempest, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this extra layer which turns it from a 3-season into a 5-season. This is probably the most depressing part of the year when you start adding these extra layers to the bed because you know the cold weather is on its way. But one thing I want to be is a lot more warmer and comfortable than what I was last night. So I'm going to show you how to do it. It's very simple. You just unzip the top of the bag, then you zip this layer to the top layer, zip it back up, and you've gone from a 3 to a 5. Well, just had a little visit from Ian the bailiff, who's telling me the whole complex is fishing slow, which is very apparent because I haven't had a bite yet. So what I've done, I've got a little bit of mix left, so I'm just going to top up 4 or 5 spoms. It might draw some fish into the area, it might not, but I've got to do something because I want to try and get a bite. Look at them lot sat over there in the sun. We're over here in the cold wind. So it's been a very quiet day. We haven't really seen any signs of fish until a few minutes ago when I was making a brew. Gaz was sat on the chair outside and he said that was a fish, and looking at it you could just see the ripples from where a fish had showed at about 40-45 yards towards the corner, like the opposite corner to where I am. So I quickly tied up a solid bag. I'm going to drop this bag over it. Hopefully it will result in a bite, but it's the only thing I've had anything to go on all day. So I'm going to dispatch this bag, set up the rod and hopefully sit back and wait for a bite. Oh, look at that. I absolutely love a ghostie, and when it's a £25 common, I'm absolutely buzzing. Would you look at that? First fish of the session. Started off really hard, this session has, and the lake itself isn't fishing very well, but then last night things changed a little bit. We had a little bit of a thunderstorm and all of a sudden started to hear some fish show, and they weren't far off my spot, and it wasn't long this morning after the sun came up that it rattled off with this absolutely stunning ghostie. I'm proper happy with this. I haven't got the rod back out yet, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some snaps taken of this. I'm going to get the rod rebaited, back out on the spot, top it up with some bait, and hopefully there'll be a few more of these to come. Come on. Yes. So it seems like that a little bait up's done the trick. There's definitely a few fish moved down here, because no sooner did I put that bait out, the left hand rod is tanked off. Now this is actually the rod that was out there from last night. It wasn't the recast rod, but it just shows that then when they move over, just a little trickle of bait can bring them back in. Now you have to, the problem is with this lake is it's very, very shallow. I'm fishing in about 5-6 foot of water, so it's not very deep at all. So I worry that when you spom and cast, it always will spook the fish off, because obviously it's landing so close to them. But yeah, second bite of the morning. Hopefully there's a few more to come. It doesn't feel like the biggest fish in the world. Did find a wee bed for a minute, so I just had to walk to the back of the swim just to get a little bit of height, just to get it over the top of it, and it's come out nice. But she's putting up a little fight. Let's have a look at her. Yeah, she's only a small fish, but it's another bite, which is the main thing. I'm just going to step down here and try not to step in the water in my Crocs. As you can see, I just took my jumper off because I'd got a bit wet in the water with that last fish, and threw my gilet on just to keep me warm in the bivvy, and it's tanked off, so I'm currently getting a little bit wet. Oh, he's not happy. Come on, whoa, 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 whoa. He really is not happy. Just like that, it's like that. Let him tire himself out a little bit. Oh, there he goes. It does get very shallow in the edge here. You're about 2 foot, 2.5 foot from 5, 6 foot. So of course they get in this shallow water and they put up a proper scrap. A bit of weed on the line there. You can see where it found a little weed bed. It just kited left a little bit, and there is a little bit of weed to the left. It looks like it's one of the new stocky fish. Love the playing action on these rods. They're so lovely, so forgiving in the tip. Just gonna keep it low. And from them other rods. I'm quite glad I haven't gone in with huge amounts of bait, because I don't think I would have had a couple of bites by now, because I don't think there's a huge amount of fish there, or they're not feeding really aggressively. Let's keep that rod down there to avoid that other line. He's just touching the alarm there. There he is. Little scaly mirror. Couldn't resist me little PB wafter. One of my favourite hook baits. Just seems to work all year round. He really does not want to give up, and I really don't want to lose him. So come on, take your time. There's been a few fish crashing down to the right as well, so I've still got one on a bag over there, but they seem to be very, very close into my right, which is actually near a swim that they call the, I think there's one called Saddles, and then the other one is called the Nursery, or the corner's called the Nursery or something. It's quite known for holding a few of the smaller fish, but I really don't care the size of them. I just love catching carp. I think he might be about done now. I think he's give up the fight. Right, let's see if we can just get him over that net. Oh, there we go. He's in. Second bite of the morning after my pot noodle breakfast. So here we go. Fish number 2. Another stunning Unity carp. £22, just over. A beautiful mirror carp. Anyway, what I'm going to do now, I'm not going to top up the spot. Now, quite often when I'm fishing on linear, I tend to put out like 3 or 4 spoms over the top every time I have a fish. But on Unity, it's so shallow that I don't want to spook away if there's more fish there. What I'll do is I'll give it another hour. If I haven't had a bite, then I'll top it up. But if I do have a bite, then I'm going to obviously top it up once the bites slow down, because I don't want to spook the fish away. But for now, time for a quick snap of this one. Then I'm going to redo a rig and dispatch it back out there to the spot. Well, we've been biting this for an hour or so now, so I'm thinking time to top up a little bit more bait. I have seen some fish show to the right, and I've put that solid bag on it, so I'm kind of hoping that might produce a quick bite, but the spot that's done me 2 bites this morning hasn't done me another bite, so I think I need to top up with a bit more bait. You know, it's still a really nice day, water temperature's still up. You know, the fish, I don't like to put too much in at this time of the year, but I'm feeling like they might be wanting a little bit more food. So I've actually made a little bit more mix up. There's probably about 1.5 kg, 2 kg in there. So I'm going to put all that out and see if that can produce me a bite. I think that'll do. It's about 14 midi spoms now, corn 8 millis, tiny bit of chop worm. Let's see if that can induce a bite for us, because it has gone quiet. But for now, it's time to sit back, get kettling. Gaz. So there we go. Little bit of baiting. Hour later, the rod's whipped off. It's funny enough, it's the left-hand rod again. I've had a couple of bites off the left-hand side. I haven't had anything off the right-hand side, which is interesting. Fish is kited and it's just kiting left again. It's actually gone under my other line. So I can see that it's done that. Let me just see where it's going to go. Yeah, let's just pick up that rod and do a little bit of knitting. There we go. Oh. It's funny, I was reluctant to bait, whereas now, you know, after putting some bait in and getting a bite, about an hour later, I'm going to top up if I manage to get this fish in. It was a funny little fight to start off with. Kited hugely right, but it didn't feel that big, but I think there was some weed on the line, which has made it feel a little bit different. You can just see my leader there, so it's not far now. Putting up a good account for itself now. I haven't seen it yet. Can't be too far away, because there's my leader knot. Oh, it's just pinged off something. Always make sure I heart drop when that happens. I always find that this sort of size common is always the hardest fighting fish. Sort of that upper double, that sort of size, and it's always a common. They just don't like giving up. See, you done, you done. Come on, come on. And she's in. There we go, job done. Fish number 3. So here we go, a little bit more bait and the rod's rattled off. Another beautiful 20-pound common. It's 20 pound 14 ounce. But every single fish counts when you're on a little autumn session like this. It's been really nice. I was a bit reluctant earlier to put a little bit of bait over, but I baited up. Hour later, it's tanked off. So what I'm going to do now, get some shots of this fish, and then I'm going to bait directly over the top after the bite like I normally would. Even though it's shallow, it's, you know, these fish are very used to seeing a spom in this depth. It's just, for me, it's a little bit like it's crashing right on top of their heads, but I want to make sure there's bait in there, because last time I had a fish, it was a couple of hours till I put the bait out. It's been another hour and I've managed to get a bite. So a little bit more bait and we'll see if we can keep the bites coming. But for now, let's return this stunning little Unity common. Thanks for coming. Off you go. Go and tell your big brother I want to see him. There we go, a little bit different after this bite. I've actually topped up straight away. So I've only put 4 spoms out, just bang on the money, but I did have to recast the other rod as well because unfortunately that fish just caught the line with the weed that was on the line, and I was worried it did one click on the reel, and that's enough for me to worry that it's moved the lead, maybe pulled the hook point into something. So I brought it back in, wrapped them both back up, straight back out on the spot, 4 spoms over the top. Hopefully we'll be able to bring on a few more bites now. Well, unfortunately, Spodding hasn't brought on another bite, so I thought there's one thing that always brings on a bite, and that's start cooking. Because whenever you're cooking and you're just about to start eating, you end up getting a bite. I'm cooking for Gaz tonight. We've got nice Aberdeen Angus burgers with some proper American gherkins and some spicy smoked jalapeno cheese. I don't know how to treat him well, it's frightening. He never cooks me. He made one brew since he's been here. Not one brew, not one meal, nothing. Frightening, isn't it? Absolutely frightening. Oh, there's a fish. Oh, that's right over the top of that bag, Gaz. Bosh! Come on. You watch. Burgers in the pan, fish on the rod. You watch. Go on. Go on. Big ace of that, isn't it? So dinner didn't bring on a bite. So I'm going to put a few more spoms out before it gets dark so I can make sure they bang on the button, because the guy over the other side has actually had a fish. Now I've watched him spom and he spommed out quite a lot more bait than me. So maybe I've got it a little bit wrong and I needed to put a bit more in. So I'm going to put maybe 6, 8 spoms out, depends how they land, and see if that can induce a bite this evening. But if not, I'm going to leave it till the morning and hopefully I'll be waking you up with a fish. Bite off them solid bags from seeing them fish earlier, and that absolutely tanked away. Come on, the little bonker's coming. Come on, isn't it? There we go, bite number 4. Another absolutely yampy common. That proper shocked me. I just that second got into bed. It's absolutely tanked. So those fish were still there then. They just had taken their time finding the solid. I think it's time to get the wades on, get this fish out and have a look. There we go. I'd just that second taken off my Crocs and got into bed, and the solid bag has absolutely tanked off. And would you look at that, 24 pounder Unity common carp. I'm really pleased with that because that means I've had bites off the baited spot, and the solid bag cast away I saw fish show has gone as well. So going to return this one, tie up another solid, put it back out and see if I can pinch one off the same spot again, and hopefully the baited spot's going to go as well. But for now, number 4 out of Unity. Happy days. Well, unfortunately the night was quiet, and so's this morning been. Since that fish I had on the solid bag, it was deathly quiet last night. The night went really clear. We had some nice fun with the cameras, taking photos of the stars, but the fish just stopped showing. Just didn't hear anything through the night at all. So it's just really weird with these weather changing and stuff like that. Has that caused the fish to go quiet? But it's time to pack up, and luckily, as you can see, we managed to get all the bivvies down and all the bits and bobs packed away before the heavens opened. And always the last thing to take out is your rods. But I hope you've learned a few bits from this little autumn session, especially on how to keep more comfortable. Feel free, if you've got any questions about autumn fishing, on tactics, on bait, on rigs, or anything like that, or even how to stay comfortable, then don't forget you can drop a message in the comments below and I'll reply, or just drop us a message on my personal Instagram or on the Trakker one. But for now, rods are in, it's time to head home.